welcome to my studio. My name is Julia Kelly, and this is my second artist tube, floss tube video. I started, my last one was a week ago, last weekend, I think. And the reason I call it an artist tube, floss tube, is because I am a classically trained artist. I have an art degree. I taught Native American and rural ranch kids in a one-room schoolhouse next to an two Indian reservations for about 15 years, and I sell my fabric collages, fabric applique, what I call fabric collages, locally at farmers market and online, and try and get them in galleries on occasion and stuff. So I am now doing my second floss tube, second floss tube, first artist tube, and I did a little researching around online because, you know, floss tube is hand stitching, mostly cross stitch, a little bit of quilting, embroidery, other things thrown into it. Writer's tube, author tube, I have watched for years and years and years. I'm also a writer and interested in self-publishing. I write a lot on my blogs, articles, travel articles, and book reviews and such things. But on occasion, I'll check and see, well, is there equivalent to an artist tube? Like, you know, if there's author's tube and there's writer tubes and there's other communities like travel, you know, traveling in a Sprinter van, you know, down the Americas to Patagonia or something. You know, there's groupings of common interest. And I don't know, artists are, well, we're kind of rebels, I guess. We're kind of on the fringe, or I'm not really sure, but yeah, but there really isn't a lot of artist tube out there. So maybe with this new trend of doing this in other areas, maybe I'd love for more artists, you know, out of their studio to do a weekly vlog. I think it's, you know, it's great. My gosh, after 4 days of just working in your studio, I will probably have clips of my German Shepherd lab named Piper, who is pretty much with me all the time, and we start being like two old ladies arguing with each other by Thursday, Friday. And my husband comes home and he's talked all day long in his work, and I'm just kind of like, you know, in my yoga pants and my hoodie with my best friend dog. And so I kind of need to talk a little bit by the end of the week. So I hope other artists, especially women's artists, even if they're mixed media or something else, they don't have to be fiber. My gosh, anything. You know, we'll start using the hashtag ArtistTube and share their studio work in a given week. I think that would be a fun thing to follow and be a part of, as is FlossTube. I explained last time how I didn't know about FlossTube. I've searched and searched for online communities because I live in a very rural area. I live in the Four Corners region where the 4 states, Colorado, Utah, New Mexico, Arizona, come together. I live in the corner of Colorado. I'm looking out my window at Mesa Verde National Park. I got 2 other national parks that direction, and glorious San Juan Mountains that direction, Telluride, Durango, our 2 big ski areas in the wintertime, and wonderful destinations in the summertime. I had a grand plan for spring. My computer blew up. I had all these patterns ready to go. I know this is ridiculous as a designer to be releasing fall patterns the end of September, but I have to start. Like, I have to just kind of jump in the pool and then move forward from there. And if I can just kind of get through the holiday season trickling out my patterns, like I said, my spring patterns, I have multiple spring patterns to offer. So let me show you now my now 2 cross-stitch designed patterns that I have. And like I said, right now, fall is a big part right now. The aspens are turning, the cottonwoods will be turning soon, and the oak brush. But this is my fall Fox in the Box. And if you watched my floss tube last time, you saw my winter Fox in the Box, where I got the idea initially in applique. And you know, no, there's not a spoiler release that, yeah, I'm probably going to turn that into an applique for the winter Fox in the Box. But these are finished. These are sized. on 18 count to fit into a 2-pound wooden cheese box. And you, again, my first video, I talk about how you can find wooden cheese boxes. Etsy, when I did upload the pattern for this, the PDF, I'm only doing PDFs right now. When I upload the PDF pattern for this on Etsy, I then went in and kind of verified and kind of checked it and stuff. And I had put in keywords. You know, they ask you for keywords. And by the time I kind of went back on my phone to check it, you could see it was already giving you a box to click to go to their list of cheese boxes. And I took a video of my phone going and clicking on the cheese box and scrolling through the options of cheese boxes when the day that I did it. I'm sure it always changes. So I finally got my PDF on Etsy and saw some mistakes and took it on and off a couple times, but I think it's up there. I think the PDF is up there. Certainly notify me if it's not. And the funny thing was I was just checking my buyer's Etsy app. So here's my Fox in the Box fall. And I have pictures up. I have my description up of the DMC floss. And then the funny part, just this, if you are familiar with the Etsy app, you know, it goes down and then of course it offers, you know, anything that was the keyword like foxes or fall or whatever. But lo and behold, look at the bottom. You don't even have to go searching for a wooden cheese box because I put wooden cheese box in as one of the description tags, and there you go. There's many wooden cheese boxes still on Etsy, and if you are wanting to do this one, just remember that it's the 2-pound box you're looking for, not the 5-pound. So yeah, so they are available on Etsy. Really do look around. The prices do vary greatly. Some people think they have a $40, $50, you know, item. Other people don't know what they have, and you might get lucky and get something for $12, $15 maybe. The way you'll get the luckiest is if you come across one in an actual antique mall, I think, in general. So yeah, so this is my Fox in a Box fall, my fall Fox in the Box. And it is designed, if you do it on 18 count Aida or 36, 18 and 18 is 36 linen, it should fit just fine in here. My charts for the Fox in the Box, I am doing only DMC. I want to always have designs. Believe me, the overdyed Revolution Renaissance is so exciting, and I will go on and on and on about it, both in the fabric and the thread. But for the Fox in the Box, because I am isolated and don't have a lot of options locally, I kind of wanted to always offer something that will look very nice just with your DMC, because there's nothing wrong with DMC. It's gorgeous, and there's nothing wrong with Aida. Aida is a high-tech fabric. I stitch on Aida solely. I don't stitch on linen. I am rediscovering things about Aida that I didn't know the first time around when I was stitching 30 years ago. But it was designed by Zweigert, turn of the century, specifically for cross stitch. A lot of the issues that people have with linen, they designed Aida specifically to deal with those things. It literally deserves multiple videos on its own. Not to say linen's bad. Linen is gorgeous. Linen has such an unbelievable history, and I could go on and on about the history of linen and how wonderful it is as an option, but they're just two choices. One's not a beginner choice, one's not an advanced choice. The other thing I should mention too is I in my great experience as a designer, now designing, I don't know, less than a dozen cross stitches of the ones that I have released and not released yet. I do fractional stitches, and I do a lot of fractional stitches. And if you don't know what a fractional stitch is, it's the reason I get curves and jaggedy things. That's another video in itself, let's just say. But yeah, fractional stitches, which would be, you have 4 holes that you're making an X in. So if you use all 4 holes, that's called a full cross stitch. You're making an entire X. If you do a 3/4 stitch, you're only putting your thread in 3 of those holes, or filling up half of that triangle of that square, but it's called a 3/4 stitch because you're using up 3 of those holes. A half stitch, you go diagonally across any direction, and you're using 2 holes. And then what's called a 1/4 stitch, you're using one of the outside holes and then putting your thread into the center of that square, and making it a quarter stitch. But yeah, I'll probably do some videos at some point about kind of, somehow demonstrate somehow in a larger way what that all means. I kind of explained this last time, but my classical artist and my art educator artist, and my just person who uses art as therapy, because it's amazing, kind of conflict with each other. And you kind of, there's like 3 different approaches that I just kind of have to pick and choose in any given one. Which one am I going to kind of focus to? And I know a lot of this new resurgence really emphasizes not using fractional stitches, which I get it. I mean, I get it. Like my art therapy ishness gets it, just wanting something easy and to enjoy and not really have to work at it. And but my own interest is to see for 2 things: see what you can do with them, that they're amazing, they give you amazing options. And one of the main things that I don't think I've really heard anyone talk about, because I've not heard anyone really get into talking about fractional stitches, is that if you don't use them, your count per inch has to drastically increase. So, a 40 count linen over 2, where, you got your square by going over 2 linens, or like a 20 count Aida is equal to each other. You can achieve the same look on a 16 count by using fractional stitches. And I'm I probably shouldn't even try to explain this right now, because I'm probably confusing people, and I will graph it out and I will show you at some point. But yeah, by using those half squares, you can make bigger stitches that give you the same effect as using tiny little multiple entire square stitches. It's about pixelating. You hear that on, when you're talking about Photoshop, computers, pixels. Pixels per inch is what when you talk about printing on a computer. Pixelated, you hear that, well, it's pixelated. It's when your file isn't big enough and the edges have those little bumps. It's the same theory. If you're printing, it's dots, dots per inch. It's like every little color has a dot, and the smaller the dot, the more crisp and straight that line looks. Or you can't use a half a dot in printing or half a pixel in computer Photoshop editing. You can, in cross stitch, use half a cross stitch, giving you that crisp edge. So for crisp edges, curves, and then jaggedy when you want jaggedy, that's why I use fractional. Now, saying that, I'm not just hurling this out to you and saying, oh, I use a lot of fractionals, and I am definitely planning on doing multiple constant videos on fractional stitches. Like per pattern, I want to do a little how-to video reminder on stitches that I might use that are not typical but aren't hard. I mean, they're not hard, but I just always want to make sure that if I'm throwing a new stitch out there that might have a classic history, but maybe you just haven't seen, that you can watch me on a video do it. And yeah, so just fractional stitches are a lot, in my work. So I released my fall fox in a box last weekend. It's up on Etsy as a PDF. I have checked and rechecked the PDFs. I am sure that, that there is mistakes. I've, given it to my husband to proofread. I'm also planning on per pattern to have a post on my website, like a blog post in essence per pattern, where I will have links to the how-tos that relate to this pattern and corrections. Also, please do me a favor, if you are interested in this and you come across anything in kindness, I am open to improving it and changing it around. Everything, the layout. I mean, I've studied the way other people have done patterns, the layouts, what people want to include in the pattern, how they want it to be laid out. And there'll be a comment section in each of these posts where you can come in and, say, I really like to have da 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 in the pattern, or it's really helpful to do this da 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 da. Whatever it is, and I am certainly open to suggestions. And I might, go back and I need to verify that if anyone's already bought the pattern, they can re-download it if it's a major change, or, I need to kind of figure out how that works. But to the best of my ability, I'm putting these patterns up. But yeah, I definitely want some feedback on what you like to have in a pattern. Yes, I definitely do at some point want to have these as printouts and sold in LNS's local needlework shops, and distributed through other paper patterns, distributed through other online shops. I have no earthly idea how to do that. I am like right now figuring out how to make a pattern, make a cross stitch. I'm figuring out how to turn my original designs into a cross stitch it, make a pattern, give instructions that make sense, and get that PDF up online for people to have. I know that there is, printing things I don't know yet. There is model stitchers that I don't have connections with. I have literally connected with, well, I guess Justine and Shelley at Welcome Stitchery in Minnesota, because I had to go back for a family funeral. And Justine graciously answered a whole bunch of my questions and probably was like, who was that person? So that is my only connection that I have to anyone in this industry. I mean, I've left comments online and gotten nice responses, and interacted back and forth on FlossTube a little bit and liked people's work and that kind of a thing. But yeah, but this is I'm stepping into a new renaissance, and saying, oh yeah, I just came from this village way over here and now I'm here, and so yeah, so this is my first release for fall. I promise my next, I will get things out sooner than like in the middle of the season. It's not, it looks like it's the beginning of the season. So Fox in a Box, Fall Fox in the Box is up on my Etsy right now. My second new release is, will be, I have the pattern printed off, and it's sitting right here for my husband to do a spell check on. And then those PDFs are going to go up on Etsy this weekend, the same before this video is released, which is this Friday. I'm hoping to get this up tonight so that you could Saturday morning can see this. But this is my second release, and it is a black cat in a pumpkin patch. And this one is finished as a pillow, and it is chucked full of fractional stitches to the point that the border is all fractional stitches, a 3/4 stitch, creating this lace pattern. Editing me coming back in because I realized I totally forgot to tell you about the hand-dyed over-dyed thread. I just mentioned the cornflower over-dyed fabric, but there is in there the oranges. There's a marmalade that I want to say is from Classic Colorworks. It might be from Gentle Arts. There's a tomato that's from Gentle Arts, and the brown orange is autumn spice or almost auburn. It's in the file, and you'll be able to see it on the Etsy, but I used a lot of very gorgeous orange floss from the hand dyers, and the black cat is Roxy Floss Co. out of Canada, her charcoal, and the green is my favorite green, which is Classic Colorworks Bean Sprout. It's exciting. And this is just finished with just a fun cotton background fabric. I don't do this cut in the middle and then stitch over it. I love fabric. I love, very cool, fun fabric, and I don't want to smack something and not be able to show this off. I use what's called a ladder stitch or an invisible stitch, which is right there. And I don't have a sewing machine. Oh, I have a sewing machine, but it hates me, so I don't stitch the entire thing. I just sit down, watch a movie, and backstitch like a sewing machine around. It is filled with, I use wool. I don't like fake synthetic poly whatever. So it's wool, and then to weight it a tad, it has what's it called? Crushed walnuts or lizard litter or whatever it's called. So this has specialty stitches on it. It has what I call a cheating straight stitch that I will have videos to show you how I do it. The vine, come on. The vines are cheating straight stitch. And I stitched the cat. I just stitched solid black on the cat, and then came in and defined the cat with backstitch. And then this is, like I said, 16 count cornflower by Fiber on a Whim. Then the other thing, I think last week I showed you that I finish things in cookie cutters and biscuit cutters. And so then this is just the cat, and a little dark. Just the cat and one pumpkin, and then it's sized. If you do it on 18 count, or this is the over die will, especially the Ada, well, I don't know because I don't know about linen, will shrink a little bit. So like when I measured this, it's actually a 17 count. And so that's what you can finish off, just the cat and one pumpkin. And that's this cat, the cat and this pumpkin. And I have, the PDF has a chart for that. And the PDF has both color and black and white charts of this charted large and then this charted for the cat. This one I finished off with what's it called? Baguette stitch? Is that it? For the edge, I just did a baguette stitch. So yeah, so that's my second fall pattern. A black cat, or black cat and a pumpkin patch, and black cat and pumpkin size for a biscuit cutter. These biscuit cutters traditionally are pretty much always about 2.5 inches across. I also have lids that you'll get that are about that same size. Again, I will have a tutorial on how I finished all my stuff on, I need to put my label on that, on 100% wool, and I have a tutorial of how I finished this, and get it to fit. So I have all those videos. I just need to finish and get them up online. So that is my 2 releases so far. I have one more. Those are my 2 early, early fall finishes that I wanted, that should have been up weeks ago, but are now up. I have another animal to release that will show you how I put things into my cookie. It's not a bunny, but how I put things into the cookie cutters. And I have a video that will show you how I size it and finish it to fit into the cookie cutter and do that. But it's not so critical for seasonal for that one, that I'm going to try and get that one done this weekend, and then maybe pop on here like Tuesday-ish or something and just introduce that one. And then my 4th, I'm just almost done making the pattern for my 4th release that I wanted to do for fall. But it's late fall. It'd be a late fall thing. So I'm hoping to get that out this week. And that would be the first week of October. Then my hope is that a week after that, which would be middle of October, I could release what I'm releasing for Christmas. And then I would be kind of done for a while. I have everything planned out, like to spring. Like I know what I'm doing. They're pretty much designed because they're previous work that I did in applique. I just need to transition those over to making a pattern. And I need to figure out, well, frankly, I need to figure out model stitches, because I can't. What I want to do up through spring, I can't do all by myself. I just can't. Like, that's a whole nother thing to figure out. So that's what is going to be up in my Etsy store. My Etsy store is Moonflower Studio Stitch. Moonflower Studio Stitch. And there will also be a link to it this weekend. There's lots of things in the works, so just a little patience. That will link that from my website, moonflowerstudio.biz, over to my Etsy store, Moonflower Studio Stitch. And I was like, Moonflower Studio is taken. Like, there's a lot of jewelers. That's why I have moonflowerstudio.biz. Moonflowers are considered a weed that grow in Utah in the Red Rock country in the shadows of the red rocks of the cliffs because it's too hot for them to grow, out in the sun. And they are and along the road, and like down through the Navajo reservation, you'll see them at late summer, big gigantic mounds of them with just unbelievably beautiful white flowers on them. They're considered a weed. They're pollinated by moths. I have some sketches of them on my website. If you go to my sketchbook page on my website, you'll see some sketches of moonflowers. In fact, I think I did a process sketch on my YouTube channel. My YouTube channel is Moonflower Musings. And if you scroll down to, I just have little art clips before this floss tube. And I think I sketched out a moonflower if you're curious about what they look like. But yeah, so hopefully you'll be able to access everything via my website is my goal. And I have lots and lots of little things to get up on my website. So, keep an eye out. I'm going to figure out how to do YouTube shorts. I kind of fiddle around with Instagram reels, and I don't get it. So I'm like, I think maybe my short little videos I'm going to do via YouTube and see if that works better, and save Instagram for more just my straight posts. I seem to do better with that. And then I also have a Facebook artist page, Moonflower. My tag for Instagram and Facebook is both Moonflower Muse, M-U-S-E. Classically, a muse is kind of in art, writing, literature, is kind of like a personification of your inspiration. Obviously, as someone of faith, I know it all comes from God, and I'm very thankful for this gift of art he gave me, especially because I also shared last time I have dyslexia, and as a kid I did not do well in school. So to have art, to be able to go into that classroom and not feel like an idiot, was huge for my self-esteem. But we'll talk more about that later. So I showed you little works last time, and I said last time that my rabbit's back up. And when I talked about my grandmother, if you go into the last time, I put stuff in vintage coffee cans, and I did what I thought my grandmother in the 50s would look like, because she was a very stylish lady, but she was a farm wife, having her coffee break in her Fiesta wear. And I actually put that on my wall too. I thought, I'm not selling this. I want this. It's my grandma. So I did little works, and I thought, well, I want to show you some of the bigger works I do. So now I'm going to pause the camera, take it off, and then turn around, and I have a bigger work laid out on my desk that I want to show you that. So just a sec. This usually hangs in the hallway. It's what I would call a personal work. It's one that I never intended to sell. I just did it for my own enjoyment and to have in my own home. This needs to go back up on the wall. So before it does that, I thought I'd share it with you. This is inspired by the Renaissance era of kind of a illustration that isn't a real picture. Like this world, what's happening in this world isn't real. Everything represents something. And they did that a lot. Queen Elizabeth did that a lot. She would wear dresses that had meanings. They would hold their hands a certain way with like a hand signal that had a meaning. What they included in the picture, mirrors, some object, it all had meanings, and people were better in those eras of kind of reading those meanings. And so I wanted to explore that. And this was a time when my younger daughter, this is my empty nester illustration. My daughters are 5 years apart. So we had a long time with my first daughter as a baby before her sister came along. And then we had a long time with my youngest daughter when my oldest daughter had headed off into the world and then my younger daughter headed off. And it was a hard adjustment for me. Plus, that's when we started to need to be more caretakers of my husband's father, who did phenomenally well for being in his late 80s, early 90s, but he still needed still needed some help. It was a major adjustment time. So let me kind of describe the parts of this so you'd understand. This is called Begin Again, and it's an illustration or a collage of motherhood, and my walk of motherhood. And this is me, or a very much younger me, and my oldest daughter when she was a baby. I took a selfie. I took a selfie of this image 27 years ago. Well, no, she's 29. She's almost going to be 30 in November. Yeah, 30 years ago, on this property before we lived here, before any of the family had houses here, when there was rundown sheds and barns and houses. And my father-in-law had a little trailer that he kind of had snack food and hot dogs and would come up here and read his Lewis Lamore books. And he had donkeys and horses. And we were inside this little trailer, and there, old-fashioned vintage little pull trailers have mirrors, closet mirrors. And I took a photo of me looking in the mirror, and I wasn't wearing this, but I copied the expression of her and me. Motherhood was my dream, still is my dream job. I can't think of anything I would want to do more than be a mom. And she gave me, my husband, I got the privilege of being a mom. And, and so this is just utter joy from having my own baby. And I will probably get all weepy and cry. But so that's what this is. It's a representational free form of me and my first daughter, the start of motherhood. This dog right here is a dog we had. I mentioned that I have a German Shepherd Lab mix that I start to argue with if I'm in my studio too long through the week by Thursday, Friday. And her name's Piper, and this isn't her. This is another dog we had named Max, who was a Newfoundland Lab. He was about 110 pounds. He was a big guy, but he was my dog I had through raising my babies. He's the dog that my babies climbed on, pulled his ears, poked his eye, and he was just this gentle giant that just took it all. They would use him as a couch, a pillow. I have pictures of them just leaning on him like he's a backrest reading books. And he lived to be over 10. And so, for my younger daughter, I think we got him when she was like 3 or 4. So he was just a mainstay. This room doesn't exist in our house. Let's just put it this way. But this view is the view that we see out the dining room window towards the La Plata Mountains. I mentioned that we live in the Four Corners region. And this is a winter scene that I have seen 100 times out that window. Here's one of our historical sheds. These 2 gigantic apple trees are, we sadly had to cut them down we think they were over 100 years old, and they actually were that huge, and my kids climbed in them. And the family we bought the homestead from, that the husband died at 90, remembers as a little boy climbing in those apricot trees. This is actually my one attempt of success of freeform stitching on a sewing machine. And if I had the room in my studio, or I get back into large work like this, that is one thing that is worth having a sewing machine for, because you can make the coolest freeform trees ever on a sewing machine. So this view is just a view that I have seen now for 30 years out my window every single season. This is a wintertime season, obviously. And so I wanted to include that. The reason there's a bunny and a butterfly on here is very specific. Again, it's like a Renaissance painting. It's not that there just happened to be a bunny there and a butterfly, a monarch butterfly flew in and sat there in wintertime. This daughter, I have always called her Bunny. The Runaway Bunny is a children's book that I read to her and her dad read to her many a time. So one daughter's nickname is Bunny and one daughter's nickname is Monkey. And I just use those names. Like, I think my Pinterest literally has a for Bunny section of things that I think that this daughter would like, and then a for Monkey section that the other daughter would like. So that's why there's a bunny, because she's my bunny. And the monarch butterfly, if you've gone to my website, you've seen the largest work I've ever done is called Migration Through Moab. And it replicates the arches, the double arch up in Moab, above Moab and Arches National Park. I have a huge illustration on my gallery page of this daughter, my bunny daughter, as a 18-year-old. Both my daughters have modeled for me for years. They're actually in a lot of my work. I've actually paid them to be models on occasion for me. And this daughter, that is her as an 18-year-old, is who's the model, the girl in the fabric collage I did called Migration Through Moab. And then you have the double arch in that one. And then there's an arch of monarch butterflies. I'll talk more about that one later. But that's why that's there, is because this is her as a baby. And then this is a representation of her when she was older. Not to be undone, my younger daughter, again, they're 5 years apart, went to Ireland when she was done with high school and brought me back this yarn from Ireland. And I knitted these shapes, the sleeve and then the body, with that yarn, and then used it as a sweater for me. So this is yarn from Ireland that my younger daughter brought back for me. This is a crocheted lace doily that was my great grandmother's that I used in this to act as a curtain. So again, the title Begin Again is like just this, there's 3 generations of mothers, or I hope to be mothers, in here. Then the buttons all around. I was fiddling around with not wanting to use frames, other options for frames, but I really didn't like just finishing it as a quilt. Oddly, a lot of my work, because I have tried, sometimes will not qualify for a quilt show, even though technically it's a quilt because it's more than 3 layers bound with a center core, a binding. I don't know. They sometimes have a hard time with it as a quilt. Just a sec. But that's another whole nother video to talk about that. So I knew I had been thinking of the idea of using buttons as a border, and I thought, well, this would be a good this would be a good collage to explore that. So I went on Etsy and I found, I think she literally called herself a button broker, and she just went to estate sales and, found interesting things that then she sold in her Etsy shop. And this was 10 years ago, so I have no idea what her name was. But I literally bought buttons by the pound. And she had gone to an estate sale and found a little lady's estate sale that had clipped all of her and her husband and family's buttons For I don't Lily, she said they were in a gallon, like a trash can, like a street trash can. And you did it by scoop. So I told her, how many I wanted, and they came, and I was going to hand stitch them down. Uh, this was also the mark of the beginning of us needing to be more involved in my father-in-law's care. He had a heart attack. He had a heart attack up on a trailhead up in the Dolores Mountains, because at 87 or 6 or however old he was then, he could still get up on a horse, and had a heart attack, and they had to fly him out in a helicopter, and our life really changed then. I was just getting some notoriety. I think I shared that I was in children's publishing, getting my work in children's publishing. And that's a whole nother video about, as a wife and a mother and a part of a family, what you have to put aside sometimes when you just have to put things aside for a while because, family comes first. But my husband had to, take care of his dad because he's an only child. And they were gone for like 3 days. Like they had to go down to, we don't have big hospitals here. We have to travel a little bit to get to like a hospital that can do cardiac care. And he was gone for 3 days. And I remember it was just an overwhelming time. And we are on a county road where the local ranchers around us will do cattle drives. And everybody pretty much has a gate by their driveway because it just makes life easier to not have those cattle decide to go into your yard instead of keep moseying down the road. And my husband and his dad took off to go do this cardiac things, the next state over, I think. And I went and I shut the gate to our driveway. Like I shut it. This was just the headspace I was in. And I came into the house, and I like to work on my bed. I like to work on a couch, cross-legged, or, upstairs we have 2 TV areas. And I spent 3 days with just a pile of these buttons and a needle and thread, and just kept watching movies and movies and movies. Me and my dog, Max, passed away was he? Actually, I honestly don't know if he was very old, I think, when I did this. And I just stitched the buttons on. And the thing is I couldn't start one place and then just grab a button and stitch the buttons. I had to size them by color and size and spread out those things to make it pleasing and, nice to the eye. So I had to pick I had kind of hand picked every single button and hand stitched all of these buttons on here. And it was totally therapeutic. Like, I highly encourage you to sometime do a button border. Just with you, a bucket of beautiful buttons. And I mean, I know there's beautiful new buttons and there's people who are selling beautiful new buttons on Etsy. But this little lady had cut off her and her husband's buttons for 50 years. And then I sat there with a pile of those buttons and stitched them on something. So again, the idea of begin again, as mothers and, and parts of our families, we just, we do the things that our mothers did, that our grandmothers did, that their great grandmothers did, that our daughters will do. And that's why I call this begin again. And obviously never going to sell it. Definitely a family thing that I need to put back up on the hallway and enjoy it. And I will insert a larger, nicely done photo of this so you can see it better. But I also suggest, again, going to my website, and I need to clean up my website and make sure all the links work and stuff. And I will you can see this up there too. So this is one of my larger pieces. I have more larger pieces, and I have actually in progress larger pieces that when I get my fall things done and my Christmas things done by the middle of October, then I have a small, like 2 that I want to release right after Christmas, winter things. I need to find other options for other people to stitch, to hire other people to do some stitching for me so that I can get back to this work. Because I really want, my hope is that I can release these smaller works that I have done for years as fabric collages and change those into cross-stitch patterns. And then I can explore new work that will probably be larger for a while. I usually kind of trade back and forth. I'm like really into large work. When I say large work, I'm talking things that take me 6 months to a year to do. And then when I kind of need to break on those things, then I like to jump back over to smaller things, and I like to flip flop back and forth. So, yeah, so there is a finished, a fully finished work object that I wanted to share with you, called Begin Again. So now I'm sitting, I just turned the camera the other direction. Now I'm over at my, what I call my drafting table. It's where I do my drawing out and my laying out of the cutting and the stuff for my fabric collages. The light probably is not as great over here. I'm trying to fiddle around with ring lights, but you know, I could get stuck into making these the prettiest videos ever, and then I won't actually do the videos, or I will do the videos and not do more work. So yeah, this is just me taking a pause in my studio. So you know that this is kind of what it's going to look like. But yeah, so I have introduced my new fall patterns. Hopefully I will have another one by the end of the weekend. And then hopefully I'll have my my 4th one done by Friday. And those, so then my fall will be out. And then a week after that, hopefully I will be releasing my Christmas patterns. But then my personal stitching time will be spent on, I have a large piece that I want to start sharing with you to get done by Christmas, to have framed. My goal is to have this large piece framed and hanging on the log wall by the time my family comes for Christmas. So that's kind of my goals that I have going on. Hopefully I'll have some clips in here, or soon I'll have some clips of driving up to Telluride this weekend to see the colors, or I'll have some photos of those, or little video clips of that on my my social media, which is Moonflower Muse, if it's Instagram or Facebook or Twitter. Moonflower Musings, I think it's plural, for my YouTube. Yeah, so I think that's all I got, and I should get off of here so I can get this edited. But yeah, exciting stuff happening, and I am just so happy that I have another pattern out there. So see you next time.